Hello, everyone. Welcome to Send Them Off, Tigervision's first, only, and probably should be the only soccer show, podcast, whatever we want to call it. We're making this up, guys. Let's be honest. Tom Codier, joined by Devin Reeder.
Yep.
You can tell already we're going to be rather Premier League heavy. We kind of support English teams because, we speak the language. It's a lot easier. So speaking of, let's go right into Premier League. Biggest game of the weekend. Chelsea, Arsenal 0-0, really kind of shockingly, I don't want to say bad game, but kind of a shockingly bad game. No goals between two of the better, two top six teams, easy. Devin, is this Arsenal proving they're better than we may think they are, or is Chelsea just slipping up?
Well, it is in this game. We had some thoughts about Arsenal being the fact that Koscielny was not in their starting lineup for a few of their games where they conceded a lot of goals, and he is possibly the most solid defender they have in their squad. So once he went into this game, you end up playing like at a right center back in a 5-back formation, and so it maybe that solidified their back line a bit more because they end up playing him, Mustafi, and then Monreal instead of like Rob Holding or whoever else they could fill in.
Good old Rob Holding.
Yeah. So it will remain. It remains to be seen if they can continue to pull out these results. But I think not conceding to Chelsea is a good step for them in the right direction. However, on the flip side of that, they didn't score.
Yes, that was my big takeaway is that Arsenal didn't score. And I think Arsenal needs to score in these bigger games. Great for them. They played well. Mm-hmm. Great for their back line to step up, something that's been a question this year, especially when you look at the Liverpool game. But to not score, I know it's Chelsea away, so that's a tough asking. But they really need to get those goals.
Well, David Luiz also got a red card, did he not?
Yeah, they had
that game?
7 minutes, I think.
7 minutes
plus
to really
stoppage.
Plus stoppage time to really get an extra goal, and that's not a lot of time. A team like Chelsea that's as well organized and has talented players.
But when they're missing a center back,
can sit back and kind of absorb that pressure. But still, it's with the amount of attacking talent that Arsenal has in their team, it is a bit worrying that they can't score against a big team.
You can't score against a big team. You can't score against a big team missing a man.
Right. So is this going to be a bigger problem? But they have, for now, at least fixed their defensive issues.
I think that's probably their biggest thing was they really need to shore up the back line. The goals will eventually come.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lacazette. He's playing pretty well to start the season. Giroud still gets goals when they seem to count.
Yeah.
I don't think he's scored a goal in the first half since when I can remember. Probably before I was born.
Right.
But he seems to show up in the games. He didn't really show up against Chelsea, but again, we talk about how good Chelsea is. All right, let's move now to the Red Devils, which I may or may not enjoy. 4-0 against Everton. Is Man U this good? Is it just because they play better when they invite pressure at ends of games? Should Man U be putting games away early? I think I would definitely appreciate it if we put games away earlier.
Right.
But we seem to play really well, not necessarily counterattacking, but just absorbing pressure until you tire them out too. That was a big thing. You see the players, you see the opposing teams like Everton and Swansea, they just kind of run out of gas, and then you can just run away with them.
Yes. How just awful of you to bring up the Swansea game. But that being said, this is twice now in a 4-0 scoreline that three of their 4 goals have come in the last 10 minutes. And in both of those games, the opposing team, my team included, Swansea included, unfortunately, in order to get a point or to score a goal, had to really push forward and kind of invited a counterattack. And given the players that Manchester United has brought in on transferred, acquired, they have a lot of talent, they have a lot of pace, they have a lot of really powerful players that can carry a ball 50 yards and then pass it off and make a play.
What is it? The reason why we're scoring these great breakaway goals isn't necessarily, you bomb it down the field, you get it to Rashford, the fast feet of Rashford, you get it to Martial, the guys with pace. It's the fact that Lukaku may not be 100% great on the ball, but Lukaku, Rashford, Martial, Mkhitaryan, Pogba, well, not now, but they can all bring the ball pretty much all the way down the field and then create something in front of goal.
Right. And so, and I mean, I think it makes, other teams respect that ability. But when they do have to come out of their shells to get a point, to get a goal, I think that's when, you have a lot more one-on-one matchups from players, like players on players, the right back on the left wing.
Right.
And I think for Manchester United, that's really favorable. They have a lot of people who are
we
really
have skilled
great
players.
You have players that are made for one-on-one battles and will win them most of the time.
It's really nice, especially as a supporter, but it's really nice to see Man United scoring a lot. They only scored 54 goals all of last year. They have scored 16 already in 5 games this year. This is just league, obviously.
Right.
Which is nearly a third of their goals from last season. It's really good to see them scoring again, but I'm not sure I like the Leicester method of scoring. Just sitting back, because again, I don't know that we're going to be able to do that against the better teams. We've got, Chelsea and then eventually the Manchester Derby in December 9th at Old Trafford against Man City. Well, that's going to be probably one of the biggest games of the year. Right. We have those games. I don't know that we can do that against those teams. If those teams put in goals, we have shown in the Stoke game when we have conceded, we don't come back. It was 2-2, but it was only 2-2. We didn't score 4 goals on Stoke. We gave up 2, and we only managed to get 2.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that'll be really interesting to see in the future, when you play teams that maybe have more individual talent in their players or overall have a better roster, or squad. So I think, going into the Champions League, I definitely give them a fair shot. Mourinho has been his second year now. He's set up everyone kind of how he wants it.
It's Mourinho's second year.
Right, when he wins all his trophies prior to the fall. And then so it'll be really interesting.
Makes me a little scared for next year.
Right, but it'll be really interesting. I think I actually enjoy watching your team play, which is something I haven't been able to say for a few years. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good. That's good. At least at least you're entertaining. Even if you lose, I assume it still will be entertaining.
No, I'm gonna be nice and say we're gonna move on to your team.
Okay.
Even though they may not have fully deserved it, and I'm sure we're gonna have a rebuttal here.
Okay.
Tottenham 0, Swansea 0. They got a point. Swansea gets a point. That's very good for them. But the story really here is Tottenham doing horribly in their home games at Wembley with the new White Hart Lane, not going to open until next year. We saw last year when they played in Europe at Wembley, they didn't do great. This year, European competitions, they were actually doing well.
Right.
But they cannot figure out those Premier League games at Wembley. Is this a problem?
I mean, yes, it is a problem. It doesn't really matter how. I mean, they've taken, 2 points out of a possible 9 at home this year?
Right, yeah.
And if you're going to make a Premier League title run, you have to win your home games. That's where you actually separate, is because you're going to give points up away every now and then simply because the teams that you're playing, have the crowd behind them.
Look at Man U and Stoke. Stoke has consistently been
nothing's harder than
a hard
Tuesday night game in Stoke. Rainy Tuesday night in Stoke.
You got to get everything in there.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a very serious problem. But it is weird. You have people interviewing players and you talk to the players and they say there's something about the size of Wembley, the way that it's set up. It is more draining, not so much physically as mentally. It's a different pressure. It's not the same atmosphere.
It's a different atmosphere. I believe the pitch is slightly bigger as well.
Right.
Which that plays completely differently.
Yeah, you get wider. There's more space. It is very different.
And for a team that I believe White Hart Lane was actually one of the smaller stadiums as far as field dimensions, that's a big difference. Now they've gone to this international stadium where most international stadiums have big fields.
Right.
Now they have to play. Basically, it feels like every one of their games is a European game because it's being played in Wembley.
Well, and I would say it's a European game without having the effect of a European game. When
they're not selling out either.
Yeah, no, they're not, and I mean that could be a problem. You look at when Borussia Dortmund came and played them in the Champions League, they were amazing. Tottenham was.
Fantastic.
They played. I mean, it was an open game. It was a very entertaining game, but they were the better team hands down in that game and ended up winning, 3-1. this was a European game in a European stadium on a bigger scale. There was more people
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna say bigger crowd.
You know, so the setting and then the circumstance matched, and I think, you know, their players probably responded to that a bit more than when you're playing a week in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's just a game week in the Premier League in
And
a much
especially
bigger
when
stadium.
you're talking about games against like a Swansea, those games aren't going to sell out.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Unfortunately,
playing
it's really
the games
tragic.
against Swansea's, West Brom's, West Ham maybe because London,
Yeah.
but unless you're playing those big matches, you're not going to sell out a stadium of that size unless you are a Man U, Chelsea. Tottenham haven't really gotten to that point. They're still a
Right.
big club, but they have not gotten the like international recognition really.
Right,
I mean, like most soccer fans around the world will know their name, but they're not a
Fans
big club.
of
You
Tottenham,
We
yes.
don't see people walking around, you know, in America with, you know,
I
Tottenham
mean,
kits.
I can think of at least one person actually.
Well, I've
but-
seen one person wearing a Swansea kit, and you're the only person.
All right.
I mean,
That's
but
fair.
when you see people walking around, you see Real Madrid, you see Bayern Munich, you see
Right.
Man U, you see Juventus, Chelsea's. As much as I don't like seeing them, but you see Chelsea. You know,
I even see Arsenal, sadly.
yeah, see Arsenal, and I don't know why, but that's the point. You see the bigger clubs. Tottenham hasn't quite got to that. They're not going to sell that out. That's going to hurt them. Speaking of a big club not performing to expectations, especially at home, or pretty much anywhere, Liverpool.
Yeah.
1-1 against Burnley. Now, granted, Burnley played us well at home last year, but Liverpool, this was supposed to be their year to really make a title push. I know they're missing Mane now,
Yeah.
but this is not good. Do you see Liverpool as a top 4 team this year?
I mean, currently, no. It's been one of those things where you look at, it's a bit like the Arsenal situation where you look at the squad that they have, you look at the names that they have, you look at the attacking power that they have, and they scored 1 goal against Burnley.
Against Burnley. At home.
At home. You know,
At good old Anfield.
and this was a problem last year for them as well. You know, Liverpool was actually their record against top league sides was astounding. They were
I'm pretty sure they had
the best, the most
record.
points against like the top like 6
Top
teams in the
6,
league,
yeah.
and they would drop points to lower teams, and it's kind of weird. That's one of those things you look
The
at. and
Man
you're-
U effect.
Yeah, it's one of those things you look at and you don't really understand why that happens. But for some reason or another, they are unable to break down smaller teams, or the players don't get as excited or into and invested in those games. And so, I mean, this is a problem. If they can't get those results, they are going to fall behind. Man U and Man City
Are running away,
are
right?
running away right now, yes.
And I, for me, they're not up there. Chelsea's still got a stake, and
Right.
I'm thinking it's either Tottenham, especially if they can turn it around at home.
Yeah.
I think they will eventually. I
Right.
think they're too good of a team to just keep not winning at home. But they're not up there. At this moment, Arsenal, just by the way they played against Chelsea, really putting them ahead of them. Even though Liverpool
Right.
did, smash Arsenal, but Liverpool turned around and got smashed by Man City. So what can we really say at this point?
Right, yeah, and you can't
Especially
really
with those
make
games like against Burnley, they outshot them 35-5. That is an outstanding shot difference. And now, granted, those can be the 35-yard. Let's just have a crack at it.
right.
But that's still way too many shots to get 1 goal against Burnley.
And I mean that's either a lack of chance creation or a lack of finishing, and either
And
of those are problems.
And honestly, from what I've seen out of them this year, they haven't shown much prowess in either one of those.
So
Especially after Mane brogue kicked the hell out of Ederson.
yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
So
All right,
moving on to Man City.
yeah, moving. Okay, so Man City,
6-0 against Watford. Yes, it's just Watford.
but yes, they have Marco Silva.
Correct. Yes, they
Yeah.
have Marco Silva. But they are just blowing teams away at this point. Even the good teams. Liverpool, now granted, Liverpool got Mane sent off, but they were only 1-0 down at that point to
Yeah.
give up another 4 goals. That says a lot about City, says a lot about Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Is Man City this good, or is this just the teams they're playing so far? Because
Well-
last year they trounced some teams, but they also struggled against the big teams.
if you're a Man City fan, you're hoping this is an indicator. This is that you are
I mean,
that good.
I'm not, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not either for personal reasons. But, if you're a Man City supporter, you hope that this is an indicator that you are this good. And then they should be this good, actually.
They should. They have the best squad in the Premier League.
You look at who
I'm not
they
going to
have.
argue that it's Man U. They have
their
the best
strike
squad.
partnership between Aguero and Jesus. Jesus.
Whatever.
Jesus.
Just call him Jesus. It works.
It's that's second to none. Then you have in your midfield, you have people that you can play like De Bruyne and Silva and the other Silva.
And the other
you have
Silva.
David and Bernard. You have so many attacking, Sane on the wing, Sterling on the other wing. Like you have so many players that you can just at your disposal to try to break down another team or get you goals, and they're all capable of that. Maybe minus Sterling, but
Ooh, shots fired.
but they did this last year though. Like you said, is they would play smaller teams and they would score a bunch of goals, and everyone look at them and be like, "Wow, this is how they should be performing." And then they would get in a bigger game, against a better team, and they would draw or they would lose.
I mean, what was it? Was there even a goal scored in the Manchester derbies last year, or was it 2-0-0s? I'm pretty sure it was 2-0-0 draws.
I'm not sure, but
I know the first one was for sure. I can't remember. Either way, it was draws for both teams, both times. That shouldn't happen. Man City, honestly, especially last year. This year it's more competitive, but Man City should have beaten us at least once last year.
Right.
Especially at the Etihad.
Yeah. And again, this is what we're like 5 weeks in.
5 weeks.
5 weeks in. A lot of the derbies haven't happened. A lot of the really big games, the big matchups haven't happened, and it really counts. What counts is how you do down the stretch, and so it'll be one of those things where we're probably just gonna have to wait and see. We can speculate as much as we want.
Speaking of, we don't have to wait that long. Well, yes, they're gonna smash Palace this week, and my prediction is about 8-0 at this point.
Right.
But next weekend versus Chelsea, and they're away.
Okay.
They've got a trip to Stamford Bridge. Now, I'm hoping Chelsea plays a little bit better than they did against Arsenal, just because I want to see how good this Man City team really is.
Right.
And I don't think Chelsea put their best foot forward against Arsenal, so I'd like to see a little bit more out of Chelsea to really that's really going to play. This is a big game coming up because, in my opinion, Chelsea is probably – I mean, they're in third for a reason. That's where they deserve to be there right now.
Right.
And Chelsea definitely has the potential to climb up if Man City can't do well against the big teams. Man U has struggled against pretty much everyone at some point in the season the past couple years. So for me, this game against Chelsea has probably been the biggest game of the season so far.
Okay, so that leads me into I will have a question for you then. If Chelsea's in third and they deserve to be there, the top two teams being Man City and Man U, they have the same goal differential, except Man City's conceded one less goal, which is why they're on top. Will there be a chance for a non-Manchester team to win the Premier League title? Like, is Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, or
well, certainly not those last two.
Huddersfield?
Huddersfield,
because they're still on the top of the
Just
table.
give it up for Huddersfield right now. They're doing fantastic, and I love it.
Is there any team that can challenge those two right now?
I think there's teams that can challenge, but I don't think we're going to see a champion outside of the city of Manchester this year. I think my prediction, I feel like this is about to burn off me. As I say this, City should win the Premier League this year.
Yeah.
Man U we're playing really well, but I still have questions as far as we're leaving games late and whatnot. Man City's convincing.
Yes.
Every week they get more and more convincing. 5-0. Then let's go 6-0 now.
Yeah.
So
next it's 7.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, you're right. This week has to be 7, not 8. Yeah. So they're just tearing it up right now. They have the best roster. In the Premier League, their strike partnership of Jesus and Aguero has the best goals per minute ratio of any strike partnership in Premier League history. I'm pretty sure because Iheanacho is the only player above them right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, the goals are going to be there.
Yeah.
And like you said, they have, whether or not they're playing either one of the Silvas, you could drop one of them and sub them on. That's a fantastic player to come on.
Right.
They have so many forwards and midfielders that are fantastic that their defense, which has only conceded 1 goal so far, I'm pretty sure,
Mm-hmm.
which is honestly surprising because that defense is not amazing, although their defense is pretty good. Their defense doesn't even have to be great every week because they'll just score.
Yes. All right. So that was the Premier League.
Premier League's over. Take a deep breath.
Yep.
All right, Premier League's over. We actually watch and talk about other leagues too. La Liga.
Poor Tommy.
Poor Tommy. Tommy will be on the show at some point. Could shout out to Tommy Kolkas, who for some reason is not here. I don't know. Anyways.
He thought he was better than us, but it's
Apparently.
okay.
Real Madrid 0. Real Betis 1 at the Bernabeu. What happened?
You know, I feel like if we went to Twitter and we asked every Madrid fan ever,
We're just screaming back nonsense of how it's bullcrap.
You'd be no closer to an answer than when you asked the question or before you asked that question. Like, you might walk away more confused and just it doesn't make sense. It's one of those things. You know, one of the startling stats that you see is the expected goals for each, of Real Madrid's 3 home games in La Liga is roughly, using different systems and stuff like that. It's about 9.5 to 2.5, and they're on the bigger number.
Yeah.
And
given the way you play, you'd think it was the other way. But really, though, watching this game, it should have been a draw. If anything, really, Real Madrid, probably if any team should have won this. Instead, if we're saying you can't draw, somebody has to win. It probably should have been Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
Betis stealing it right at the end there. Sanabria coming in. Probably will be at Real Madrid in the next 2 years at some point.
Right.
But what is, that is the first time in 73 games they have been held scoreless. The last time they were held scoreless, Harambe was still alive. They had only won 10 Champions Leagues. And right now...
I hate you for that so much.
Right now, Messi and Real Madrid have the same number of goals in La Liga this season at 9. Is this a slow start? Are they screwed? I think they're screwed anyways. They're already 7 points behind. You're going to draw points at some point.
Yeah.
But what's happening over there? I have no clue.
When you say screwed, do you mean in La Liga or is this in general? Is there a bigger
in general?
Okay.
Because if you can't get results at home, that's going to hurt you everywhere.
It's really ridiculous to think about, a Real Madrid team. We were just talking about the squad that Man City has, and then you look at the squad that Real Madrid has, and for them to be held goalless by anyone doing any system,
let alone Real Betis, who lost probably their best player in Ceballos to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
There's no words.
There's no you cannot come up with a reasonable explanation. I have an explanation that I was discussing with you, and I believe this all started with Asensio's pimple, but I think
bring it back to that.
I think that's where it all started for them. As soon as you have one,
that's kind of where the decline started. But
it did. You have a star player go out because his leg hurts because of a pimple. Shin guard can't go on. Problem doesn't play in a big match.
But
you do wonder it. Because you can't come up with any other explanation. Did that have an effect? It's just one of those really ridiculous scenarios where if you're a Real Madrid fan, I'm sure it's just a slow start, a very slow start.
Yeah. Incredibly, turtle space.
Yes, but
I mean, they're still taking care of business away.
They still have.
They've just been dropping a lot at home.
They still have the quality players to at any point if they decide they want to turn it around or. They can. So I don't really know if it's a bigger issue than the fact that I feel like it will cause other problems.
It's going to cause issues for them.
But it's not
for now, it's just kind
of an indicator of them being bad or not as good.
Yeah, I think in part it has to do with losing players like James and Morata. While they weren't key starting pieces, they were very key rotation and bench options.
True.
And now they're trying to figure out how to fill that in. Benzema didn't play against Betis and then immediately signed a contract extension, which is really funny after you don't score. But
yes,
I think this is just them having a little bit of trouble dealing with new personnel in there.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they still have the core of the team, but now they have, they're trying to work in Ceballos, Theo Hernandez.
Yes.
It's going to take a little bit of time. unfortunately, I think that's cost them already.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's completely over and the league's lost, but it's completely over and the league is lost.
You just said it.
Yeah. Especially when Barcelona is beating Eibar 6-1. Now it's Eibar, but Barcelona is showing no signs of slowing down, losing Neymar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to call it losing, just be giving a crap ton of money for Neymar. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
But they're not really showing signs of slowing down now. Suarez himself has not been doing great, especially since they are pushing him out wide, and I don't know why.
Wait, Dennis?
No. Luis.
There's two Suarez's.
I know, and it's irritating. Yeah, but Barca's still going. Clearly, Messi has. The man has 9 league goals already. Does equal number to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Is Barca, gone? Is this over? Is Barcelona, do you think they're just going to continue rolling? They already beat Juve in the Champions League 3-0, 3-1?
3-0.
3-0?
Very convincing. 3-0.
Is this their year? Are they going to treble again? Do you think they're just too good at this point?
Well, all last year we kept watching the Barcelona play. Barcelona met Juventus in the Champions League last year. Not even a contest. Juventus ran away with it. Suddenly, here we are, like literally only 4 months later or so.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months later, yeah.
And it's completely flipped, and
Yeah.
you wonder what happened. But
I will say that was not Juventus' best game.
Oh,
as
yes.
far as their play themselves, they just were not. They didn't really look into the game.
Right. But we watched Barcelona play, and there was no right side to their game. There was no right side of the pitch. It was gone.
I mean, that's what happens when you have Sergio Roberto as your right back.
Right.
But now they brought in Semedo. They actually have some width, and they actually kind of now have a back line as opposed to whatever the jumbled mess they called it last year.
Right. And then on top of that, they've even started to slide Messi into a central role as almost like a false 9, where maybe he's not a striker, but he plays back behind the wingers. He can pass the ball. And I mean, as a defender, when you have the best dribbler in the world coming at you, who also can be one of the most dynamic playmakers in the world coming at you,
shoot, dribble.
You have to respect literally everything that he could possibly want to do. If he wants to pass it off, you have to try to make sure you're in a good position for that. If he wants to take you on one-on-one, suddenly you're taking on one of the best players, if not the best player in the history of international soccer, football. You have to take him one-on-one, and suddenly you kind of get isolated.
And at that point, once you've thought that, he's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he's already by you. If you're trying to sit there and think about it.
So, I mean, I guess to answer your question is I would have to say that if they continue to play in this system, everything that I have seen indicates that they will be as dangerous as they were about three seasons ago when they really had their breakout year.
I think it was 2 or 3 seasons ago when they won the treble, yeah.
Yeah.
3, because Real went back-to-back, I'm pretty sure. Yep.
When they had their kind of breakout year, when MSN...
Beating Juventus in the final, too.
Yeah, when MSN was, at their best. I think that they can get back to that now. I feel like they've figured out a system where it really allows their players to play well and plays to their different players' strengths. And so
yeah, I especially like the move of moving Messi central. I mean, he was originally, before MSN really became a thing, he was central right wing. They would switch him around. I think when you have a player, as you said, that talented at passing, dribbling, and then just creating shots for himself, and if he's back behind the striker, or if he's just false nining, he's got plenty of options. He's got talented players around him. He can make several shots for, and as soon as he starts doing that, he sees the opening. He can cut right by you.
Yeah.
And Messi's a very smart player too. That's what has helped him be as good as he is, especially given we've always heard about how undersized he is.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about you look at that with Giovinco too. Like, these players, the smaller players, have to be much, much, much smarter. And he'll pass around you for 65 minutes, and then as soon as you get comfortable with that, he'll completely change it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the key to their success.
Yeah. Well.
All right, let's get near the end here before we start droning on too long. We're going to do a few little quick fire topics, starting with who are your Premier League relegation candidates this year?
Sadly, Brighton. Brighton's going back.
Brighton? How about Brighton? I'd agree with Brighton.
Right now, I mean, at the bottom of the table, you have Bournemouth and you have West Ham. I don't think either of those teams go down.
Oh, and Palace. Because Palace is going down.
Palace and Brighton are my two I'm pretty sure of. The third one, it'll be really interesting to see how all the games play out. Because right now, looking at the table, you have teams in positions where you wouldn't expect them.
I believe Everton is also in 18th.
Yeah. You have a bunch of teams.
A lot of weird teams.
Huddersfield is in, 7th or 6th or something?
Huddersfield's playing out of their minds.
Newcastle is in 5th, I think.
Well, I'm actually not too surprised by that.
Newcastle's
way
a good
too
team,
good for the
but
championship.
there are teams in positions that Newcastle. You're like, I mean, they're good, and they
are they that good?
Yeah, you have a bunch of scenarios where you're not really sure who is going to move where.
It's definitely Palace and Brighton. Palace is the first team in Premier League history to start with 5 goalless losses.
Yeah,
it's
impressive in a sad way.
Yeah, it is. I feel like Frank de Boer was hard done being fired just because clearly there's issues beyond him there.
Yeah.
He was not given enough time with the team. But Palace, I mean, at this point, they're gone. For me, I would tip the third team at probably, at this point, West Ham. As much as I don't want that to happen, I love Slaven Bilic. I like the players at West Ham, but they just don't seem to want to play.
Right.
But so far, the way they're playing, Bilic is going to be sacked. They're going to go down. It's kind of sad given that they had a lot of promise 2 years ago.
They had a lot of promise this year.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is when they had Payet and whatnot, they looked like they could be, in for a Europa League spot. They actually ended up getting one on some good sportsmanship UEFA thing a couple years back, but got knocked out before they got to the group stage.
Wow.
Alexi Lawless, for those of us in the U.S., man with amazing hair, but then he cut it all off to do broadcasting. It's kind of upsetting.
Hey, man, you got to make money somehow.
He has had some sharp words for the U.S. men's national team, and honestly, deservedly so. Calling them a bunch of tattooed millionaires. Soft tattooed millionaires.
Tattooed millionaires.
And even claiming that they're a soccer generation that's been given everything, and they're about to squander it. Do you think these are fair words? Do you think a little harsh?
I mean, personally, if I were a player, it would make me want to perform, and I feel like that was the whole point of why he said that. Is he is calling them out because so far they haven't lived up to their potential or their expectations.
Yeah, I didn't even get into the individuals because you called out individuals before this as well.
Yeah, and it really is just, I think, deserved in a way, or I want to believe it is deserved because I want to see the U.S. When we in the last World Cup.
We were honestly not that good.
No, we were not that good. But for some reason, that team wanted to play. They wanted to win. They wanted to play. And it was actually really amazing what happened in the U.S. within that one summer during the World Cup.
Soccer's popularity boomed.
Because
just from that.
Just from that few months of us playing at an international stage and achieving some sort of success, the amount of support that the team got, the amount of people that hadn't really watched that were tuning in to watch them play when they reached the knockout stages. That was a lot of fun just to be around. But now we're at a point where we have players out there on the field who you look at and go, they're world-class talent. And we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, you look at them and you go, we finally have some of the talent that other international teams have.
We are definitely a World Cup caliber talent team, but we are not really, I don't want to say serious jeopardy, but we definitely are in jeopardy of not even qualifying for the World Cup.
Right.
At least not automatically.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
That would be tragic.
A 1-0 loss to Costa Rica, I believe it was 1-0, to Costa Rica at home doesn't help either. I think these are completely justified words from Alexi Lawless. The team has seemed, since getting knocked out of the World Cup, it felt like they took a really bad body blow in a boxing match. They just crumpled. And most teams, you play hard. If you play hard at the World Cup, you give it your all, especially if you go to extra time against a very good Belgium team.
Yeah.
You have an incredible performance with Tim Howard. Things still feel on the up. Now we look at they got rid of Tim Howard for 2 years, brought him back because their goalkeeping options were bad. I mean, sorry, Brad Guzan, but let's be real. And then now he's not really doing much. And just there's a lot of young talent on this team, but they just don't seem to care.
Yeah.
When you watch their national team games, they really do not care. Even Pulisic, who is the shining star right now for the U.S., is one of the greatest young talents we've ever had. When he puts on that national team shirt, which should be motivation for people, that should be, people always say there's nothing better than representing your country. He seems to just not care. He
is more dynamic playing for Dortmund than he is playing for the U.S. men's national team, and that's a problem. Yeah.
Speaking of Pulisic, we'll cut to our last topic here. Is Pulisic the most talented American we've ever seen?
Whether he's the most talented, I would certainly say he's the most fortuitous in the fact that the chance that he got to play at Dortmund and the experience that he has, and was he 19 now or is he still 18?
He's not. He just turned 19, I believe, yesterday.
Oh, wow, that's ironic.
Yeah.
Or serendipitous or whatever. But, you have a now 19-year-old kid. It's the same age as us. Like, we go to class every day. This guy wakes up.
Falls out for a German club.
This guy wakes up and gets paid to go play soccer. Like, that's a weird way to think about it. But that's what he does. And he has enjoyed tons of success. He broke into a Borussia Dortmund team who's in contention for the Bundesliga trophy like every year, who's a Champions League side. He went in and played in the Champions League, scored a goal. He continues to score for them. And in a lot of games, people argue he's the best player on the pitch for Dortmund.
He is now getting more publicity for his play at Dortmund than Marco Reus is. Marco Reus has disappeared, really, over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He hasn't really done much, and now you have this young kid, as you said, 19. I'm older than him, and that makes me feel old, even though I'm only 19 as well. But he comes in, as you said, scores in a Champions League game. He's the youngest ever American to win a major European domestic cup because he won the Pokal. He is almost going to replace Royce at Dortmund. And this kid is a young American. I think he's the most talented American we've ever seen as far as talent for his age. Because while we had Donovan, we've had really good players. I mean, Tim Howard in goal is really good talent. He played in the Premier League for 12 seasons.
They did play Champions League at the age of 18.
Yeah, they were not this good that young.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've rambled on enough here.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
All right. Fun, as always. We have to end it. But thank you guys for joining us.
Tommy will be here.
Hopefully Tommy will get his arsenal over to the studio and actually, join us. But we need the La Liga help, let's be real.
Yeah.
But 'tis fun, as always, Devin.
Yeah.
See you later.